I'm speaking with Karl Cook, who represented the United States at the Paris 2024 Olympic Games, riding Caracol de la Roque. The team of Karl, McLean Ward, and Laura Kraut finished with the silver medal. And this was Karl's first Olympic Games, and what a ride he did. You did a wonderful, wonderful job, but I want to go back a little bit. I want to talk about how you first got involved with horses and how that got you to here, where you are today.
Yeah. So I got into horses because my mom was into horses. And ever since I can remember, we've had horses in our backyard. It's just horses. And my mom rode in the 80s and the 90s and did, medals. She did hunters, jumpers, to like 3-6 level. And then when my sister and I got older, we started riding. And, it kind of just snowballed from there.
And did you always have the thought of maybe competing in Olympic Games?
I mean, when you're young and you look upwards, as you always do, like what's the highest level of whatever sport you're at? For show jumping, it was always the Olympics. And so, of course, I always thought, kind of elementary, it was like, it'd be great to do the Olympics. But, when you're young, you don't see that pathway. That pathway isn't clear. It only happens over time. But of course, I always wanted to go to the games.
All right. So now I want you to talk about the games. What was the experience like? What was it, the very first time you entered the arena and said, oh my God, I'm here?
Honestly, it was really one of my clearest memories was actually before I was the alternate. So the first day was the warm-up class. And so at that time, I was still the alternate. And being the alternate, that was most likely the only time I'd be in the ring. And so I was jumping around a 140 course in that arena, just having a blast. It would be like, think of like being in a giant grass field and getting to just run. It's just so cool. And I enjoyed it so much because at that point I had no pressure. I was the alternate. I'm warming up my horse for not showing. It was, what we thought at that time. And so it was just so cool being in that arena, seeing Versailles. It was just, yeah, that was really cool.
And when you discovered you were actually going to be part of the team, then what?
Well, so as an alternate, I talked to a lot of people and I tried to figure out the best way to be an alternate. How can I, even though I'm not showing, which I want to be able to show, I still want to do my role the best I can. I want to be the most helpful team member as I can be as an alternate. And one of the biggest things was you have to be ready. With no notice, you have to be ready. So we planned and organized and did everything as if we were showing. We did nothing different. So even when I got the call that morning, I was still warming up Caracol as if I was showing in the class, even though at that time I wasn't. And I brought my whites, even though I wasn't showing. I did everything as if I was showing. So that if the call came, it was as easy as possible to step into that role.
Okay, so when you did step into that role, was there any type of a change when you entered the ring this time? And then can you talk a little bit about your horse?
I would say change, no, because you're at the Olympics, yes, but you've jumped plenty of times before. I've ridden Caracol in the ring plenty of times before. If you think about all the differences, you forget the fact that you've done this before. You've been in the ring before. You've jumped these courses. So I thought of it as it's just another week. And sure, that's like a mental trick or whatever, but you have to bring out the best that you can do, and that's how we did it. And Caracol, I think for me, she's what every rider has maybe a different ideal horse. But for me, she's the ideal horse because mentally, she is so good. She's so committed and she leans into everything she believes. If you say turn, you'll be spun around 180 degrees before you can blink. She leans into everything she believes. And that's what makes her so good. It's not me. I'm on top of her, but it's her commitment to what she believes. And she's just so mentally strong and committed that yeah, she's amazing.
But it's definitely also a communication between you and her. And obviously, you've got that, connection really well.
Yeah.
When you actually ride her, is she sensitive? Is she an electric horse? Or how does it feel to be on her?
So the way I try to explain it is it's a bit like you light a rocket and you can't turn the rocket off. All you can do is point. She's extremely quick. She's extremely reactive, and that is a challenge. But if you can do it, it's a gift because you can't really think when you're riding her because she's too quick. A lot of horses you can think. You can say, okay, I feel this. Okay, do this. Okay, do that. And you kind of think your way through the process. But with her, she's so quick, things will happen before you can think, process, react. So it has to be just pure, you know, pure reaction. And that, that took some time for us to learn or for me to learn it. There were, you learn by sometimes it doesn't go very well, but you learn from that. And it took time, but once it hits, it really hits.
Well, you did a great job. You supported the team to get their silver medal, and you earned it just as well as they did. Well, I want to thank you for chatting with me. Do you have any last words you'd like to say?
I'm just so grateful for the experience. The whole thing from the opening ceremonies to showing was a dream come true. And yeah, showing for the US team was everything I hoped for.
Well, I want to thank you again. And I am Diana DeRosa reporting for the EQUUS Television Network.